before the Middle Ages darkened the Western world and long before the Renaissance breathed new life into Europe, there was a time when a civilization on the Indian subcontinent flourished in science, philosophy, mathematics, medicine, and the arts. This was not a myth. It was the Gupta Empire. Between the 4th and 6th centuries CE, northern India witnessed what many historians consider its most luminous period, a time when Sanskrit literature reached celestial heights, when zero was conceptualized, and when cosmic truths were etched not just in scriptures, but in stone. This was the Gupta Golden Age, a time when India was, by many measures, the most advanced civilization in the world. Our story begins with Chandragupta III, a regional king from the Magadha region, whose marriage alliance with the powerful Licchavi clan in 320 CE formed the bedrock of a new dynasty. Unlike the Mauryas before them, the Guptas did not rule through sheer conquest. Their power flowed from alliances, strategic marriages, and cultural patronage. Chandragupta I laid the foundations, but his son Samudragupta elevated the empire to its first major zenith. Known as the Napoleon of India, Samudragupta's military campaigns are chronicled on the Allahabad pillar inscription. His conquests stretched from Assam in the east to the Deccan in the south. Yet Samudragupta wasn't just a warrior, he was a poet, a musician, and a lover of the arts. Coins depict him serenading with the veena, signaling the harmonious blend of strength and scholarship. Under his rule, Sanskrit became the language of the elite. Literature saw a resurgence. The Gupta court attracted poets, playwrights, and scholars. Among them, the name of Kalidasa shines the brightest. His works, Abhijnana Shakuntalam, Meghaduta, and Raghuvamsha, weren't just literary masterpieces, they reflected the philosophical and aesthetic values of an entire era. But this renaissance wasn't confined to words. In astronomy and mathematics, the Guptas reached unparalleled heights. Aryabhata, writing in 499 CE, boldly declared that the Earth was a sphere that rotated on its axis. He calculated the value of pi to several decimal places and introduced the concept of sine in trigonometry. Most significantly, he helped formalize the use of zero as a number-ray concept so revolutionary that it would eventually transform the global scientific landscape. The decimal system, place value notation, and early algebra were developed and refined during this period. Without these contributions, modern computation would have remained centuries behind. In medicine, the works of Charaka and Sushruta were codified and expanded. Ayurveda, India's ancient medical science, gained both legitimacy and institutional support. Hospitals and medical schools emerged. Surgery, pharmacology, and disease diagnostics reached new heights. The Gupta Age medical texts were translated into Arabic and later reached Europe, influencing early Western medicine. Philosophy also thrived. The 6 orthodox schools of Hindu philosophy, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Samkhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta were vigorously debated in public forums. Jain scholars refined their doctrines. Buddhist thinkers like Vasubandhu and Asanga laid the foundations of the Yogacara school, which would later influence East Asian Mahayana Buddhism. The empire's religious environment was strikingly pluralistic. While Hinduism was patronized, Buddhism and Jainism received state support. Temples and monasteries stood side by side. Religious debates were held not with swords, but with logic and scripture. Architecturally, the Gupta period saw a transformation. Earlier wooden constructions gave way to enduring stone temples. The Dashavatara temple at Deogar and the Udayagiri cave temples are early examples of structural temple architecture. Their shikaras, or temple towers, set the stylistic standard for Indian temples for centuries to come. Meanwhile, the Ajanta caves flourished under Gupta patronage. These cave monasteries, adorned with murals and sculptures, remain among the most breathtaking religious art ever created. Their frescoes depict scenes from the Jataka tales, stories of the Buddha's past lives with a grace and realism unmatched in ancient art. The Gupta coinage tells its own story. Gold dinars with finely crafted portraits and divine imagery circulated widely. Inscriptions on these coins reveal an organized bureaucracy and a thriving economy. Trade routes spanned from the Roman Empire to Southeast Asia. Indian cotton, ivory, spices, and precious stones were sought across the known world. Gupta diplomacy was equally far-reaching. Chinese pilgrim Fa Hien traveled across India during the reign of Chandragupta II and recorded a society marked by prosperity, justice, and religious freedom. His accounts are among the most vivid portraits of Gupta India. Civic life also flourished. Urban planning, water management, and agricultural techniques advanced. Villages were self-governing, and municipal guilds played key roles in local administration. This decentralized model allowed stability even in distant provinces. Women held respected roles in education and literature, though, like much of the ancient world, their autonomy varied. Some inscriptions speak of women as donors, teachers, and even philosophers, indicating a more nuanced gender dynamic than often assumed. As we move into the reign of Chandragupta II, also known as Vikramaditya, we see an apex of cultural and military achievement. He defeated the Saka rulers in western India, opening up vital trade ports. His court was said to host the Navaratnas, or Nine Gems, legendary figures in literature, science, and the arts. But like all empires, the Gupta dynasty would eventually face decline. The arrival of the Hunas, particularly the Hephthalites, around the mid-5th century, began to destabilize the empire. These Central Asian invaders attacked from the northwest, eroding Gupta military strength and economic stability. By the 6th century, regional kingdoms began asserting autonomy. The great cultural flame of the Guptas dimmed, but it never extinguished. Its embers lit later Indian civilizations, from the Chalukyas to the Palas. The Gupta legacy was not in grand monuments alone. It was in ideas, numbers, and knowledge systems that transcended borders and centuries. Indian numerals traveled to the Arab world, then to Europe. Aryabhata's astronomy shaped Islamic observatories. Kalidasa's poetry echoed in Southeast Asian temples. To this day, schoolchildren across the globe use the numerical system developed during the Gupta age. Surgical techniques described in Sushruta Samhita are revisited in medical history classes. And yoga, systematized in this period, continues to stretch across continents. The Gupta Golden Age shows us what happens when a civilization values learning, tolerates difference, and builds with both beauty and purpose. Through the Historia lens, we remember this era not as a relic, but as a reminder that the pursuit of wisdom, in all its forms, can elevate a society to the heights of civilization. Subscribe to join us on more journeys through the forgotten peaks of history, where knowledge once lit the world.